In episode 13, we were brought to the farm, and the farm was so much better than I ever imagined it would be. We had a bunch of really great lines, an incredible kill scene, and the surprise of Richard. Also, on the farm, like the rest of the episode, everything centered around change.
Hey, I'm G, and this is the G-Spot.
There is a lot of change in position during the arm wrestling match, with Doppelganger almost innocently noting that starting position is most comfortable. The results of the match lead to a change in leadership, but the change that Doppelganger is really concerned about is that he now finally has his hands on the coordinates that he has been after this whole time. Now, we can't be certain if these coordinates lead to where Gordon saw the hole in the sky or the location that Diane Googled, which led to Twin Peaks, and in my opinion, leads to Owl Cave. Wherever these coordinates do lead to, Doppelganger finally has them. We also don't know what or where the Dutchman is. But the good thing is, Doppelganger does. And this means that we do have a chance at seeing who the man that calls himself Jeffries, which I have predicted to be the experiment, really is. Lastly, on the farm, there was a change in dynamics for us when we saw that Richard is associated with the farm. In Las Vegas, Anthony went on a roller coaster of changes, all having to do with Dougie and the Mitchums, and all leading to the end where he is pleading to Bushnell, I want change or I want to die. On the other hand, the Fuscos seem to ignore any change happening around them. We first see them completely ignore the very disruptive, loud commotion in the background. A commotion that kind of indicates that somebody may need help. I mean, at one point they're yelling, "She has a knife, she has a knife." And the two Fusco brothers don't even turn their heads. Then, when the third Fusco brother brings in the results on the fingerprints, they have absolutely no reaction to this. They feel like they actually throw it away. The information they received is that the fingerprints belong to a missing FBI agent who just escaped prison. And being that in a previous episode they found out that Dougie's official records only go back 20 years, they should be very interested in why his fingerprints match a missing FBI agent's fingerprints who did just escape prison. But they're not. We get another quick scene of Hutch and Chantel, and their change is geographical. If we look at the shots we get on the road, if we look at the bend in the road, and then if we take the information from the exit signs, it's actually really easy to pinpoint exactly where Hutch and Chantel are driving. And they happen to be driving literally over the border between Orento and Pronto, Utah. So Chuck and Chantel are changing cities. The most compelling change in the episode was from Janie E. We see a quick little change with Janie E right off the bat. When the delivery men show up, she is very suspicious and hesitant of them. Then she changes and she becomes decisive and welcoming. But there's a much bigger change going on with Janie E that started a couple episodes ago. And again, an internal change. And we could see this best if we compare Janie E dropping Dougie off at work from episode 5 to episode 13. If we just look at the camera shots alone, we see that episode 5 is dark and closed in, whereas episode 13's shot is sunny and open. The big change is with Janie E's own demeanor. And if we look at her, it is like night and day. She's like a completely different person. Miserable and frustrated in episode 5, and absolutely in love in episode 13. This brings up an interesting point. Dougie has improved quite a few people's lives. He helped out the Mitchum brothers, the old lady in the casino, and there's more people. But the two people whose lives he's affected the most are Janie E. and Sonny Jim. And the question that I'm beginning to ask is, how are they going to pull Dougie Cooper away from this family? They've invested so much in the Joneses, and the Joneses have truly become attached to Dougie Cooper. At this point, I really don't know what to say about what's going to happen with the Joneses. But there's a big possibility it's going to be a really sad ending. In Twin Peaks, Becky changes her mood. Nadine sees Dr. Amp in reality instead of virtually. That's a change for her. Norma is confronted with changing the ingredients in her pie. And Ed changes the state of a piece of paper. Now, if we assume something is written on that piece of paper, we can say that Ed decided something he once thought should be preserved now should be destroyed. And I think that could relate to two possible things. It could relate to his love for Norma. We saw him a little brokenhearted at the Double R when he had to watch Norma with her new boyfriend. Or it could also be connected to the whole Blue Rose thing, as Ed seemed very interested, intrigued, when Bobby mentioned that they found something of his father's that day. And then we get to Audrey and Charlie. Seemingly in the same conversation, it's actually very debatable what has actually changed for Audrey and Charlie. There's probably a lot of different theories out there with time and space and all this stuff. But I think we just need to focus on what we're seeing and what's being said. They are in a different room. They are dressed the same, except Audrey did have her coat on when we last left her, and she now has it off again. Their positioning is basically the same, with Charlie sitting down, Audrey standing up, and the conversation is literally seamless. I mean, if you took those two scenes and edited them together, conversation-wise, it's seamless. It's like it's the same exact scene. So if we do treat it as one scene, Audrey and Charlie's conversation in episode 12 and in episode 13, if we do treat that as one scene, we do see a big change in Audrey. In 12, she starts out standing her ground and making demands. But by the end of the scene in 13, she is broken down and pleading for help. So we do see a change with Audrey in that sense. For me, what I take out of both of these scenes, episode 12 and 13, one thing I cannot stop seeing is Audrey is standing alone. And then in episode 13, the line, "I'm not me." What I'm taking from all of this is something very unique is occurring to Audrey. And it has to do with the events that are going to occur on October 1st and October 2nd. Beyond that, I really didn't take much from Audrey and Charlie. I think a lot of it is there just to build mystery and make us wonder what the hell's going on. Lastly, we get to the never-ending loop at Sarah Palmer's house. Now, Sarah herself is in a seemingly never-ending loop with alcohol and cigarettes, or numbing, whatever you want to say. But her TV was in this crazy ass loop where it never stopped re-looping, 15 or 20 seconds of the black and white boxing broadcast that she was watching. I would even make a big deal about that. Like, why was she watching a boxing broadcast from the 50s or early 60s? But there's too many cable stations that like play old sports things and stuff now, so I don't know if that's supposed to mean anything. The loop was there, and it had some crazy sound effects with it. What we can take from this loop within Sarah Palmer's house is a few things. One, it's just another clue that real strange shit is going down in Twin Peaks. Two, it lets us know that we, the audience, Sarah was the audience in the scene, that we, the audience, cannot trust the sequence of time that we're watching in this show. They are not presenting things to us sequentially, and we should not be assuming that they are. Now, a perfect example of this is Bobby in the RR in this episode. He tells Norma and Ed that he found something of his father's today. Now, it was just a couple episodes ago that we saw Bobby in the RR at night with Becky and Shelley. And so at this point, we have to assume the night in the RR with Ed and Norma happened before the night with Becky and Shelley. So we definitely cannot trust that we are seeing things in sequential order. One other scene that really stands out to me that I don't think we saw in sequential order is way back in episode 2 or 3, I forget. Margaret calls Hawk, and Hawk is at the hole that leads to the Black Lodge. Then Hawk sees the curtains that Cooper went through to enter the Black Lodge. And what happens to Hawk, well, we don't see. The way that scene ends is in a whiteout from his flashlight. In episode 2 or 3, we're assuming that this is present time. But at this point, I'm starting to think that that night he talked to Margaret on the phone is actually on October 1st or October 2nd, and that Hawk did enter the Black Lodge after he saw the curtains appear to him. That's all conjecture and we have no idea. But what we can confirm, especially with this scene from Sarah Palmer and what Bobby said in the Double R in episode 13, is that things are definitely not being presented sequentially to us. Now, the third thing we could take from this loop at Sarah Palmer's time and time again, meaning that things are a loop, a repeat, and that this occurrence that's going down October 1st, October 2nd in Twin Peaks is also a loop. It's something that has happened before. It's something that's going to happen again. I actually think it is a very, even though it does repeat, it's a very special event that only occurs every once in a while. That's why everybody's in such a hurry to take advantage of this event. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't be afraid to go ahead and give it a like. If you know anybody else who watches Twin Peaks and loves discussing it, go ahead and share the video with them. And if you'd like to be notified every time I upload a video on Twin Peaks, go ahead, subscribe, ding the bell, and you will be alerted every time I upload a new video. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.